Usually doesn't.
There you
All
go.
right, we are live. Hey, everybody, it's Travis Flaherty. I'm excited to be here with you today, and I am here with my good friend and mentor, Mr. Curtis Broom. Curtis, how are you today?
I'm doing awesome, brother. How are you doing?
I'm doing really, really good. I just got off the phone with somebody over in Romania, actually, who is wanting to know what is going on with Mint. So I'm having a lot of fun right now.
You're just the global dude.
You know, I'm just having a lot of fun building on a global
Arizona
level.
with a little bit of scruff on the face and a ball cap, talking to people around the world. I love that. Isn't this a great lifestyle? Yeah, I can wear what I want, be where I want.
It
Woke up
is.
late today, shaved the cat instead. Yeah, I love that. It's
It's
awesome.
funny when we're at home and we're working from home and just doing calls. Yeah, the hair starts to grow out a little bit. I've got the ball cap on, and
Yeah, 'cause that's because you haven't showered yet today because you're up early with Romania. I
this,
know. I know the
this is
deal.
actually true. This is actually true.
What's a network marketer's lifestyle shower? I hopped in the pool.
I like that. I'm going to quote that for you. I'm gonna give you credit for that the first couple times. I'm going to use that.
I'll take a network marketer shower in a minute. What's that? I get to go hop in my pool. Okay.
That's good stuff. Well, listen, we're thankful that you're here with us today, and you and I were just chatting a little bit. We had a big call on Monday night, and we titled that call "Relentless." And the reason why we did that was because we've made it through our first 100-day stretch, and we had some that sprinted through that first 90 days, and they really were able to get their businesses off of the ground. And then we had others that were, they gave the 20% effort, they gave the 40% effort, the 60% effort, the 80% effort. And I love, what Eric Worre says, going back to GoPro last year, that to get an airplane off of the ground, it requires 100% throttle going down the runway just to get that thing off of the ground. And then from there you can start to let off that throttle, and then from that point forward, it's all about bursts, sudden bursts. And so we're really challenging everybody to join us over the next 90 days, because we are going to go all out, and we are going to bring some new people to the table, and we're inviting those that are watching and listening in to join us. And so this coming Saturday, I've got a training call where we're going to be talking about the daily method of operation for somebody that's full-time and somebody that's part-time, and what that should look like. And I thought that you could help us with that whole topic and share with us what we need to be doing, brother. So that's where we're at as a team.
Awesome. Well, let's do this because, Lisa and I, we've been traveling a lot recently too. We were in Norway and then Denmark, Netherlands, Estonia. We were in Nordic countries and working with a group over there, a great group. And they're preparing to unleash themselves, start expanding throughout Europe and then around the world. And it was interesting because we went in and there was an event. In fact, we were over there with Eric. Eric had an event over there, but we went in about a week and a half early, 14 days early, and we did a tour of a lot of markets. Then we were there for the event, and then we did a tour of markets after the event. And we were about halfway through that initial tour of markets before the event when we suddenly realized, and it's one of those things that this was an older school type of company that was preparing to come into the new way of doing stuff, and they wanted to adopt more social media approaches and get more a little more modern, if you will, and we want to be able to do more stuff digitally. And so we were cautioning them, saying, "Hang on, listen, you've got this really strong foundation business because you stayed with the grassroots." See, if we take a look at network marketing, as you start looking at your daily method of operation, if we take a look at network marketing over the decades, and we go back multiple decades, and you look at the giants of today, the Amways and the Newskins and the Herbalife and the Avons and all that stuff, you look at the giants. The one thing that is different between them and newer companies often is the weekly meeting. And what happens is, because human beings, as a natural course of being, it's our natural behavior pattern. As technologies improve, we all have a desire to get more doing less. I understand that, not a problem. It's the wonderful thing about technology. Do more, get more, doing less. Now I just want to press a button and drop 30 pounds. Let me press a button, eliminate all the wrinkles. Let me press a button and be rich. Let me press a button. We stand in front of our microwave and scream, "Hurry up!" But there are certain things that we have to be cautious about pressing a button on, because we may have misunderstood the entire thing in the first place. And the reason I love that you start talking about the title of this one, Building Your Business Around Meetups. The reason local meetings are important is many people think the local meeting is where new prospects come, and the purpose is to be there for new prospects to come and join. True, that is a purpose of the local meeting. One of the other most significant purposes is in our business, we are in the business, in our profession, we're in the profession and in the business of leadership development. One of the greatest places that leadership development takes place is at local events. We are in the community building business. We're in the business of building a global network of consumers, not customers, consumers. There are customer consumers, there are distributor consumers, but it's about building a community, and it's about building a community that people love being a part of, they're proud of being a part of, because deep down people know when they look in the mirror, did you do it or did you not? You know, they can all have the excuse, you know, you make excuses to make money, can't make both. People who have gone full thrust this first 100 days to get the aircraft off the ground, they know who they are, and the people who aren't getting the same result, they know why they haven't. But it's okay. If the community is built properly, everybody's welcome and they feel respected, because people have different time frames. Some people have different triggers. So some people have only been in a 20% mode, some a 60, and some of them may never choose to go to that higher level. You're doing things, and the reason I love what Team Legacy is doing, you're doing things that create an environment so that if you're ready to make the choice, nothing holds you back, and we can help take you there, and we do that as a team. But when it comes to local meetings, the biggest purpose of a local meeting is leadership development. It's a leadership, because the only way to really do that is if you can interact with other people. People become good when they're around other people and they see this diversity. I love Hangouts, but if this is all they see, a couple of guys and talking heads, how much development can they go through? If they can get to a physical location where there are those who are newer than them and growing and in need of growth that they can help, and those who are much further along the path who can help them grow, that's the greatest purpose. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through with you, I'm going to show you the psychology of a local meeting. Why? There have been so many companies, newer companies, that in this technology age, they thought that technology replaced what was always meant to be a human connection, community connection world, and they didn't survive. Oh, well, the wonderful thing about our company is you come on in and we've got this tool and this and these other things. You don't ever have to do a local meeting again. And none of them survived. There are none that have stood the test of time. None. And the Amways and the Avons and the Herbalifes and the Nuskins and the Giants and the big ones and the Tins and China and all those, you know what they live and thrive by? Local meeting to local meeting, weekly Tuesday to weekly Tuesday to weekly Tuesday to Super Saturday. Now, there are certainly those who are bringing new people into their team via electronic, digital, technological media, who then coach them and develop them through Hangouts to get enough of a group in their local market via social media and Facebook and Hangout and webinar and conference call to where they can say, great, now start a local meeting, a Mynt meetup in your community. Here's the methodology. So I can now, unlike the old days where I had to physically go from town to town, I could start 50 local meetings because I started 50 people via social media, but I go in knowing if I don't get them embedded physically, locally, they're not going to last. So why do something that doesn't last? Plus, if you'll look at the psychology I'm now going to show you, this is the historical. This is psychology that was taught 50 years ago, you know, when you were long from being a twinkle in somebody's eye, and I unfortunately was already here. But still, 60 years ago, when even I wasn't here yet. This was the methodology. This is the psychology of the local meeting. So let's do this, because this is what happened was we actually had a young group in their early 20s in Stavanger, Norway, and we went into one of those locations and said, listen, so what do you guys do for your local meeting? They said, oh, we stopped and we've just gone to monthly meetings. We said, why? I said, well, because they were boring. What do you mean they were boring? Well, you know, one person always did it, and it's the best person, but it's the same person, and they did it every week, and it was the same person doing the meeting from beginning to end, and it just, you know, if I didn't have a guest, why should I go? Because I know exactly what he's going to say or she's going to say, and it's the same person. We said, wow, okay, there's the problem. People have no idea the psychology of what we're trying to accomplish, so let's do this. Well, let's do this. I'm also going to turn off my name at the bottom because I'm going to use some of the room on the board, and everybody knows who I am at this point, I think. So let's talk about the local meeting psychology, because if you understand this same psychology you can use in a one-on-one, a one-on-two, a two-on-one, whatever it is. If you are on a conference call, how you would do your conference call would change based on this psychology. If you're doing a webinar, how you would structure the PowerPoint or whatever you show. to do your webinar will change if you understand this psychology, okay? So let's do this. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about the true psychology, historical psychology and network marketing of a local meeting, or now a Mynt meetup. There are two processes that are going on in a local conversation meeting. There's a process of increasing information, and there's a process of increasing emotion. Here's why. This justifies our decision. That's what causes us to make the decision. If we don't get emotionally connected, we don't decide. This is not for us. This is not for me. I don't get connected to it, and I don't join Mynt. If I get incredibly emotionally activated, I'm definitely coming in. I just hope you gave me enough stuff so I can justify it to anybody I talk to later. The key is that in a local meeting, the psychology is you're starting here. You've got to have it end up here. You got to get it to there. If you don't get it to there, the person's not going to want to be a part of what you're doing. Even if they thought it was interesting, professional, well done, certainly smart people, seem to be very attractive, all good folks. No, just not for me. Okay? So let me get this lined up. There we go. You have to understand that when people are going through an evaluation process, there are three questions they're asking. Question number one, they're asking, is this real? Okay, is this just a sharp person at the front of the room giving me the pitch, or is this real? Does this make sense? Does it seem realistic to me? Okay. Second question, what's here, what's in this for me? What's for me in all this? Because this is great, you guys are doing wonderful, these products are saving lives, and that's all great, and I love that, and that's all cool. What's in this for me? But three, the most important one, is can I do this? If that one doesn't get answered, nobody's going to want to become a part of the Mynt reality. Because ultimately, this is great, it's special, it's wonderful, but this is the key. The first two are driven by information. This one's driven by emotion. And there's only one type of emotion that makes this work, and those are stories. Period. Not slides, not facts, those are stories. As a result, I'm going to show you the historical psychology of a meeting. There are meetings, if you had a perfect world, you have a team executing a meeting. I mean, there's every aspect of a meeting has a psychological and a purposeful impact. It's about leadership development, and the way you start leadership is participation. The way you start participation, you have people participate in the teamwork. For example, one of the greatest parts of a local meeting is the fact that you have a registration table. Why? So that I can have people work the registration table who are the newest members of the team. It's their first way to engage. Hey, Travis, I know you've just been involved with us for 3 days. We've got the meeting on Tuesday. Would you be willing to be part of our registration table team? We could really use some help there. All you do is we got two lists. It says guest and it says Mynt team member, partner person. I completely forgot. It's not going to be a distributor, but we have people sign in, and then the guest gets the blue name tag. You've seen them all, the paper name tag, say hello, and you just put their first name in big, giant, big, thick magic marker letters. Why? There's a purpose for that. And on the red tag, that's the member. Why? Because when I'm at the front of the room, I can see the blue people, and I know they're the guest, and I can see the red tag. So even if I've got to lean in a little bit, I don't have to lean down and just right there to see their name, because you put Jonathan Alexander Vanderfunt, instead you just put John. So I can see that right there, and as a result, I can say, hey, Bob, listen, let me ask you a question, and I can engage the audience. It's that little stuff. So there are people at the registration table. There are people showing up who are helping set up the room with the lights and the music. And why? Because it's a way to engage them as part of the team, because it's leadership. But a well-run team also has 4 people at the front of the room speaking during the process. Now, the reason you have 4, it's engaged. There are some things here that are so simple. A brand new person who's been involved with Mynt for a week and a half, but they're outgoing, excited, and they're highly motivated. That works. It can work to have them there. So here's what they are. There is a host, and then there is speaker 1, speaker 2, and speaker 3. Those are the 4 people. Okay? And what you could do is you could literally take this meeting, you could break it down into 4 sections. Okay? In fact, then we'll finish it off there. then there's actually another last section that we'll talk about here in just a second. Okay? So you could break it down this way, and here's the way it would work. The host is right here. Speaker 1, I mean the host, yes, is speaking, but I'm talking about the presentation portion. There's S1, there's S2, and there's S3 all the way through to the end. So here's the information process. The host, what does they do? Number one, the first thing a host does is they have certain announcements. It's primarily the purpose of a host. This could be a brand new person. It's getting someone in leadership development up at the front of the room. Just tell them, be happy, have fun, smile. That's it. No more qualifications necessary. A couple of announcements to give them something to say to get it started. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get started. Thanks so much for being here this evening. We really appreciate it. A couple of things we'd like to do out of respect for your time and out of respect for everybody here. Please, everybody, if you'll grab your cell phones out right now, and if right now you turn it to silent or off or turn it to vibrate, there you go, that's great. And secondly, we would ask if you'll hold your questions. You're going to have questions, we believe, we know. If you'll hold them till the end, 90% of your questions get answered through the presentation, and any remaining few questions you've got, we will all stick around until you've got them all answered. So thanks for that. The second thing that they do, and this is what's important, the host tells their story. It's the first story. It's what we call identification with the audience. It's creating an ID, an identification with the audience. The problem with the strongest person does the whole meeting approach is one person can't identify with the single mom and the school teacher and the truck driver and the corporate executive and the retiree. There's nobody who can, and the key is for people to relate to, can I do this? When they see people like themselves, they begin to believe. Okay? The purpose of their ID, and we've talked about how to structure your story. You know, this story should be done in 60 to 90 seconds. Its name, where you're from, what you do or what you've done in the past besides Mint. What was your greatest frustration, even if you have a love for, I'm a school teacher, I love it, I'm passionate about it, I'll always do it, I just don't make the money that I believe my family deserves. So, boom. You know, what was your frustration? But since I've become a part of Mint, here are 4 things, none of which is about money. You don't talk about money. It's the things that I see that it's going to be able to do for me. You can have a brand new person stand up and tell the story of what they finally, for the first time in their life, see is possible for them to accomplish. More time freedom, the ability to give my children the education they deserve, to my wife and I to take vacations, and I see that I will one day be able to finally take control of my financial destiny and take care of my future generations. I don't have to have done it. Here's what I see and believe. If I've been in for 3 years, here's what has happened to me, these 4 things. So they tell their story in a fashion that is a connection, but it identifies with people. And the third thing they do is they intro speaker 1. So here's what happens. The host gave some information, which is quick, just phones and questions. This is why a new person can do it. Tell people to turn off their phones, hold their questions, tell your story, which anybody can do, and then introduce speaker 1. What's happened is they told their story. Stories drive emotion up. I'm literally 2 minutes into the meeting, and I've already moved the emotion up. They've heard story number 1. The next thing is when you introduce someone, you don't tell their story. You only mention 1 or 2 key wonderful things. Well, folks, now that you've heard kind of why I'm here, we're going to kick the meeting off. It's a pleasure to introduce our first speaker for the evening. She's a wonderful, you say their name last. She's a wonderful individual. She's actually relatively new to Mint as well. She's only been a part of the Mint family for about 3 months, but in that short time, she's built an incredible consumer group and customer group. She's already had new team members also start to build consumer groups and team members. It's been a wonderful experience, and she's just got a passion for the company and the profession. Please welcome to the front of the room, Janet Sims. Boom. Last thing you say is the name, and they come up. When Janet comes up as speaker 2, or speaker 1, rather, speaker 1, what do you think is the first thing they do? Tells the story, their ID. We just drove the emotion higher. We're only, again, 3-4 minutes into the meeting, and all of a sudden, 5 minutes, and we've gotten 2 identification stories. And then what does Janet do? She does the industry and the company. She does industry and company. Why? That is answering the question, is it real? The profession's gone from 80 billion to 180 billion, and from 40 million participants to 100 million participants in the last decade, one of the worst financial decades globally in the history of mankind. Our profession has increased 2.5 times. There is no doubt this is the profession of the future for people who want to control their life. And here's our company, and here's who we are. Boom, boom, boom. This is simple. Again, a brand new person can be introduced into leadership because these facts are on slides, and you don't read a slide, but take a 3x5 card. I'm okay. Hand the new person a 3x5 card and have them be honest. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so excited. I've started with Mynt just a few months. You've heard my story, but this is only the second time I've been able to do this at the front. I love the opportunity to share with you, but I'm just new at this. I'm a little scared and, a little frightened here, but if you'll bear with me, I don't want to miss any of the facts. So let me just share some great initial information, and then I'll bring up your next speaker. And you know what happens? That's the truth. It's honest. She now doesn't have to be fearful about being uncomfortable. It's okay to be uncomfortable, but she's learning how to be at the front of the room. And in 6 months from now, she'll be a pro without any cards, tearing it up. And the audience will love and appreciate and respect her honesty because they'll say, man, I'd be terrified to be up there too. It's greater connection. And so she does industry and company. And industry and company is flat. Information is not emotional. It's flat. Stories are emotional. And I got to get up to there. So what's she do after that? She intros speaker 2. Great. Here's speaker 2. What does speaker 2 do? Well, number 1, they do their story, their ID. Because what happens is, all of a sudden, I've got a speaker 2, we just took the emotion up, and we've already got our third story of a different person with a different perspective of Mynt, and I'm only 10 minutes into the presentation, and they're already hearing their third story. The second thing that speaker 2 does, they do the products. This is continuing. Is it real? But it's the beginning of what's in it for me, because the products have great benefit. As they do the products, that's flat, and so that's the products. Okay, I'm going to move this out just a little bit. Because when they're done with the products, before they bring up the next speaker, the third thing they're going to do are product stories. Now, here's what happens. You want product stories 4 to 5, and you want them to be from the audience. Let me pull this over in case the thumbnails are catching it. You want them to be in the audience, and they stand where they are. You do not have product stories come to the front of the room. Why? Whenever you do a presentation, it's a natural psychological thing that the person at the front, no matter how warm and friendly and nice they are, they're standing and everybody else is sitting. So it's you and them. Or if you're sitting, it's us and that person. There's always a distance. The story helps connect a little, but when you start calling out product testimonials in the room and you let them know in advance, first thing, a product testimonial story should never be more than 20 to 30 seconds. I mean, bam. It is not a scientific discussion. We don't care about your life history. Well, hi, my name's Curtis. I'm here from Dallas, and before I was able to be introduced to the core products with Mynt, here was the difficulty I had, but literally, when I started both with the core challenge, starting with the cleanse and beyond, in 90 days, I lost over 23 pounds, and I've never felt healthier and had more energy. I feel blessed by Mynt. Boom, sit down. Pow. And so you pick 4 or 5 people, and here's what's happening. The reason you want them in the audience is because everybody, when they hear a voice, they turn. It creates motion, and it gets blood flowing without everybody having, the old stand up, rub people's shoulders. No. I don't want them to get bored. So I intentionally have people in different parts of the room. I've told them we're going to call them, and I go bing, bing, bing. It's like the whack-a-mole thing. People are turning and twisting, but what's happening psychologically is they're saying, hey, wow, cool. Part of the me group, this is my group. I'm kind of feeling like we're all here, and there's the speed. We're cool. Look at this. This is happening to people like me. These stories are going bam, 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 really fast. Those 4 or 5 product stories, it's driving their emotion up, but it's making them realize, hey, this is me. People like me are doing this. And now they're up to like 7 to 8 stories. And we're, again, 25 minutes into the meeting, and they're at 20 minutes into the meeting, and we're at 7 or 8 stories. They're getting connected right and left. Then what you do is the last thing you do is they intro speaker 3. Same way. Don't tell their story. Say 1 or 2 things. Here's what happens. Speaker 3 is the best available person. So if you're starting a local, by the way, if you're starting a local meeting and there's only 2 of you, then you have to divide up these parts. The goal and objective is The magic of the way this structure has always been designed, very new and inexperienced people can do this. This person, they can be in the business for 3 days. Tell them to turn off their phones and handle their questions, tell them about you, and intro the first guy, sit down. That's easy. Second person, tell them about you, because everybody can get the tell them about you part right. Read the slides through your 3x5 cards and intro the next person. A new person can do this. Speaker 2, tell your story. They got that. Read the slides, read 3x5 cards about the products. Here's what you do. Point to these 5 people. Here's their name. Call out their name. They'll stand up. Great. Intro this last person. These 3 people should be changing almost weekly. That way the meeting doesn't get old and boring and stale. New people are getting engaged. We are in the leadership development. The leadership development is get engaged and give them a chance to get over their fears and start feeling more comfortable with their successes. The other reason you want to do that is now you're 20 minutes into the meeting. It's high-powered, high energy, fast. Bam, 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 presenter stories. We're 8 stories in, and the best speaker, they're not bored with listening to. The problem with one speaker presentations is by the time you get to the most important thing, locking down what's in it for me and can I do this, they're sick and tired of listening to that same voice. That's why the reason this meeting psychology was created was to just create enough information so that Speaker 3 was teed up when it was perfect. And Speaker 3, their role is simple. Their first thing they do is a story. Why? Obviously, because now we're up to the 9th story or 10th story already that they've heard. 7th at least. Lots of stories, lots of personal connection. Next, they do comp plan. But here's why you want the best person here. You never want to teach a comp plan. You want to refer to a comp plan indicating that all the details are available on the website, but let me point out a couple of key points. And the purpose of a comp plan is really to get people to feel that 3 things are true. Number 1, when they're new, they can move into profit quickly. Number 2, they can get to full-time income reasonably. You know, a year and a half, they can move into full-time income. And 3, there is a chance for wealth. It's not to teach it, it's to touch on it. The other purpose of a compensation plan, it's what I call the lollipop syndrome. Take the cover off a lollipop, show it to a child, their eyes get really big, and then let them lick it once and then say, okay, I'll give you the rest later, but you got to be good. Okay. What you want to do is in a comp plan, there always want to be key things that you're touching on that you say, but we'll talk more about that later. We'll talk more about that later. It's the later things. It's what's called creating an open loop. Let me mention something that you would love. As I'm going through the comp plan, by the way, one of the reasons we're so successful, we have actual systems that we teach. For example, we've got what we call a hot market system. Now, I'm going to talk more about that later. But it's a system that with no experience, anybody can do where literally no matter which initial package they start with, even the biggest one, they could return all or most all of their expense. Sometimes people have done it in as little as an hour. In some cases, in 24 to 72 hours with no experience and with no selling. It is a non-selling activity that we teach and show people with actual scripts. In fact, some people even do it by text. They don't have to talk to anybody. And we've got also, we'll talk more about that later. Well, are you kidding? I just gave them a lollipop and bounced it off their. Holy cow! I need no experience. That's great. I don't even have to talk to people. Okay, that's cool. I can get all my money back. I can do that in 24 hours or in an hour. I need no experience. It's proven. Everybody's doing it. Okay, I'm sticking around to find out what's going on later. That's the idea. So first of all, Speaker 3 tells their story. 2, they go through the comp plan. And that's why the best one's there. They're mentioning those open loops. They're touching on things that they just want to point out. Look, we've got it for everybody. If you want a little part-time income, we can do it. If you'd like to change your career, we can do it. And if you'd like to create wealth, we can do it. But we leave those choices to you. We're just here to help you do whatever you want. So that then number 3, they get to the stories. Now these are the business stories. Okay? Now these you want 3 to 4. If you've got enough time and if people are really tight, then you can go to 5. And this is where you drive it home. This is boom, 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 boom. And the reason you want the best person here, they're directing it. The business stories, you do bring them to the front of the room. So now to share with you people who have had great, just share some of the experiences that people are having with Mynt and the wonderful successes that even when they've started very part-time and with no previous experience. Let me invite up a few people. Hey, Janet, Mary, would you step on up? Okay, so hey, Bill and Fred, would you come on up? Great. Boom. Get them up there, 3 to 4 or 5 if they're really tight. This is where they're just telling the story the way you have, but it has to be tight. Never more than 60 to 90 seconds at most. If somebody screwed up during the comp plan, they do not fix it. They do not go back and mention the 3 patents that somebody forgot to mention the product. They do not. If they do, then you do throw tomatoes, get a hook, and yank them off. They just hit the story. The only purpose here to end with stories is to drive emotion up. That's where you suddenly got story 10, 11, 12, 13. There's 13 to 14 stories that somebody's heard. Keep in mind, this is why they say yes, not this. The only reason we do any information is you got to have information to let them know that it's real and there is something in it for them. You've got the purpose of a local meetup is to tell stories. We then sprinkle information in the middle, because if I just sat there and told 15 stories with no information, then that would get boring too. But the whole purpose of a meetup is the stories, not the information. The information connects the stories and gives them perspective. So what they do is they go through the stories, and then when they get here, all the stories stay on the stage until they're all done, and then the speaker says, "Look, thank you all very much. Let's give them all a hand." They walk out the center and back. They don't scatter like random squirrels, which distracts people. They get off, get out, and go to the back as fast as possible. Let the speaker maintain control. At which point what happens is the speaker then closes. And the purpose of the close is we aren't closed. We aren't done. We are preparing for the most important part, and that is the final part, and that is the conversation. So you have to understand that no matter how comfortable you make this, this has mostly been a presentation. The information presentation with a lot of great stories, which break it up, but it's been a presentation. The speakers have been presenting information, their own story helped, but it's all the other stories that then really took it up. But now we need to have a conversation, because presentations also don't attract people as much as conversations. They close, as you say, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you what we're going to do right now. First of all, we so appreciate your time and having come to take a look. I'm sure many of you have some questions. We're going to take a 10-minute break. If you've got any questions, please turn to the person who invited you. If they're new and may not know that answer yet, they'll check with one of us. We'll make sure we get your question answered. Now, for those who can't remain, again, thank you so very much. But I do want to share with you, at the end of this 10-minute break, we're going to do a real quick session, what we call our quick start session. It takes no more than maybe 10 or 12 minutes. And during that time, what we're going to do is we're going to, if you can remain, and by the way, everybody's invited, so if you can remain, you're certainly welcome. But we're going to show you exactly some of those things I talked about earlier, that hot market system and the other thing I mentioned that I said we'd talk about later. I'm going to cover that during this quick start. And literally, it is so powerful but so simple that in 10 minutes, 12 minutes, we're going to be able to show you exactly what brand new people, even if it's only part-time and have no previous experience, why they are able to so immediately, no matter what package they start with, get back into profit. Literally, sometimes within 24 to 72 hours. We've had some people do it within 1 or 2 hours after they enrolled. It was that fast. And we're going to show you why it works for everybody. And then we're also going to show you how then taking that within just a couple of weeks, you're really in accelerated profit and growth. So we're going to do that. It only takes about 10 minutes, but we'll do that in about 10 minutes. So anyway, thank you all very much. Let's take that quick break. And for those who can stay, we look forward to talking to you in a minute. That's why you need the best speaker. They're prepping it. They're setting it up. And they were fresh, so they were able to keep that audience's attention. This was boom, pow, and they've got this. What will happen is you'll have almost everybody return. What you basically just said during the close is if you can remain, you're welcome, and in only 10 minutes, and they go, well, okay, I can wait 10 more minutes. I'm going to teach you the meaning of life and the secrets of the universe. So what happens is when you come back after for your 10 to 15-minute quick start, this is where, this has been presentation. Now, the way our comp plan works is da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and the company and the industry, da-da-da-da, and the products, da-da-da-da. That was presentation mode with stories, which are all human. When you come back after, the reason you want the best speaker doing it and you want to develop these people into good speakers who can do this, you start off by saying, okay, folks, let's get ready for everybody to head back to your seats, and you get all the team is out there gathering everybody, getting them to the seats. Hey, we're going to get started. We want to wrap up quick. Let's go. This lead speaker leads off by saying, wow, looks like everybody stayed. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. We'll make it worth your time. I know they're all going to stay. Why do I say it? Because now I'm moving into conversation. Mentally, as a speaker, I am literally going to sound, my whole body language. I've relaxed. If I was there in a jacket, I probably took it off. You know, I roll up my sleeves or whatever. I am in a conversation sitting on a sofa or sitting at the kitchen table with my best friends. Everybody in the room. All those people with the blue guest stickers, they're not my best friends. And so this becomes the tone. Wow, looks like everybody stuck around. Well, you know, thanks so much. We'll do this very quickly because we know your time's valuable, and we're towards the end of the evening. Listen, the reason we wanted to go through this session is particularly for those of you who are guests. Obviously, you're evaluating. You know, we know that you've always got those 3 questions that I had. I know when I first saw network marketing, and you can hear it in the tone of my voice. I'm having a friendly conversation. I'm not pitching, I'm not harping, I'm not barking, I'm not the carnival guy, I'm not evangelizing, I'm just talking to him. You know, the questions I always had is, you know, when I first looked at this, I remember, you know, was it really real? I heard so many things. Did it make sense to me? Was there really some benefit in it for me? And could I do it? Well, really, that third question is what we also want you to feel the most comfortable with. So let me show you exactly what we have new people do when they get started. It's called our hot system. And then we've also got a special thing that we call the this, that, the other, whiz, bang, promotion, nifty, cool thing we do. Whatever those things might be. So you look through your presentation and find a couple of those nifty things. You intentionally say, move them out here into that part, say, because we're going to talk more about it later. And then literally in 10 minutes, the whole reason for talking about the whole reason for just having a couple things here, this whole thing is the presentation. But this part is done conversationally, because now they can see you're relaxed, you're comfortable, you're kind of joking, and you're just saying, look, let me just share some stuff. So that when you're done going through the hot market example and showing them, and then say, in fact, we've got a couple of folks, you heard from a couple of folks, you know, during the presentation part that shared with you, they were able to get that product move so rapidly because it just works. It's a 60-second scripted conversation. Some will say no, most will say yes. It's not selling. Just give the people you love an opportunity to make a choice, and you'll find most of them will choose to want to be trial consumers and help you out. Let them know. So there you go. Why don't you just turn to the person who invited you, determine, you know, how you think is the best way for you to start, or if you still got questions, or if you're not sure still that Mynt is for you, then at the very least, why don't you let them get you set up as a product consumer, because obviously it's undeniable this product will be of great benefit to you. Anyway, thanks very much, and if anybody's got any questions, I'm available to you. And that's the presentation. Now, let's step back to the psychology of a local meeting now that you've seen the whole thing scripted. The purpose is to allow the team, it's not really, I mean, yeah, it is where new people and prospects are introduced and we hope they enroll. That's not the greatest value of the meeting. That's a great value. It's not the greatest value. The greatest value of Mynt meetups is for the existing actual team to become a powerhouse team working in synergy with multiple new people going through a leadership evolution process. They feel more committed to the team. They feel more connected to the team. We really are developing leadership. We have brand new people at a registration table who realize the team is relying on them to do it properly. Big, bold printing of first names only on blue tags and red tags so it's simple for the speaker. Be there to help set up the music in the room and make sure the temperature's right and the projector, the LCD projectors, everything. Make sure everything's in place. You're part of the team and you're important. Make sure that you know, you're prepared. We've got new hosts, speaker 1 and speaker 2s each week, and we're rotating people through because we were helping you become more embedded, and we're helping you expand your comfort zone and break through, overcome your fears. Be honest with people. Let them know that you're uncomfortable and you're afraid and you're uneasy because you're not used to doing this, but you believe the message is more important than your fear. And start growing and developing leadership. Give the opportunity for the new people to see, the members to see that this makes more sense and that they can do this too as they see other people getting up. And you'll have more and more people want to become a part of it. But the biggest thing is you're teaching everybody it is the stories, not the facts, that are critical. Which means if you're going to sit down and take the same presentation and you were going to do a one-on-one at Starbucks, the question you need to ask yourself, gee, I don't have 14 people here with me. I can tell them my story, but there's one. Gee, maybe I need to add into the presentation slide deck, maybe I need to add a slide that has with real looking pictures, not everybody went to the photo studio for a headshot, a bunch of people on the team who have had great product stories who sit there with the dog and with their kids and, you know, in the backyard with an iPhone, click a selfie, send it in, and then we'll put your quick 2 or 3 sentence testimonial. And now I pull up at this part of the presentation after product, I pull up a slide that's got some thumbnail pictures and quotes from 4 or 5 people, maybe 2 slides, 3 on this one, 3 on the next one, of people who've had great, because I realize it's the stories that are more important than all the other stuff. And then after the comp plan, I go get 3 or 4 of those thumbnail pictures with people's stories about their hot market success. And I had 4 team members watching me make money. I had 4 friends watching me make money sending texts who asked me what I was doing, and they joined in the next 4 days. A few of those that I added to the presentation because I now realize when I'm presenting, moving emotion through story is more important than guiding information, because this isn't what makes the decision, that is. And if I'm going to do a webinar, maybe I rethink the structure so that this psychology takes place. Maybe not as completely as in a local meeting, but it takes place. And if I'm doing a hangout, I keep in mind the psychology. And if I'm doing a conference call, I realize, you know, I don't need to go through all the detail. I just mention a little bit about the company and product. That's, you know, 45 seconds, but I move right into stories. And then a conference call where I just mention some things about the comp plan real quick because I move into the stories, because everything's about the stories. So that if you do that, then, and if I start a new meeting and there's only 2 of us who are able to form a sentence, great. We divide up these 4 roles amongst 2 of us till we get a few people joining. And then we say, great, you're running registration time now, and next week you're going to be the host, and then I'm going to do speaker 1 and 2, and the other guy's going to do speaker 3. So we got 3 of us now, and then we grow. If you understand this mentality, the ongoing development as you build out your daily method of operation, local weekly meetings should not be the things we don't want to do anymore because we've got email and Facebook and other stuff. This is what builds fortunes. Even if you use technology to get 30 of them started. Why? Because I sponsored 30 new people in the last 3 months using Facebook all over, but I immediately started with this in mind, moving them towards, hey, use your hot market locally, start to promote locally, start to prospect locally, and as you get a few folks, as you then start to market on Facebook, make sure you're also starting a local meeting. Why? Because the meeting isn't for enrolling new people. It is, but it's also tremendously important to build that local team camaraderie and be a foundation of leadership development. Nobody developed in an office virtually with their notebook by themselves. Leadership development happens when you are connected with leadership caliber people in their physical presence. That's why I've always said, never miss an event, build from event to event. And now as you expand your daily method of operation with Mynt meetups, yes, 6 days a week I'm virtually promoting and prospecting, but on Tuesday nights I'm there. Why? Because that way I can send people to the Tuesday night Legacy Mynt meetup in Phoenix and in Chicago and in Atlanta and in Miami and in Dallas and in McAlester, Oklahoma and Paducah, Kentucky, because they're all done this way. And we all know we're building the psychology together. So there you go, gang. That's the psychology of a local meeting that really is the psychology of network marketing.
Hey, Curtis, let me ask you a question real quickly. So if I'm a new distributor in a new market and there's just me in this market, maybe I've got one other person across town, I think that's what holds people back is, you know, we don't really have a team here. I'm by myself. You know, what if nobody shows up? Can you talk a little bit about the cycle of getting a meeting going and maybe some of the fears that newer team members or distributors might have about launching a meeting, no one showing up, maybe only having one person show up for the first few weeks and it's the same person, that guy from the other side of town. So can you talk a little bit about that for a minute?
Yep. Here is the true process of let's pretend you don't even have the second person. You're all by yourself. You responded to somebody's Facebook marketing or whatever, and you said, I'm in, and you got on a hangout and said, I'm there. If we know this is where that person should go, then we counsel and guide them, because ultimately, you and I both know, it's about choice. So let's make the assumption that that one person is committed. I mean, they truly want it. They want it badly, because I started that new person in McAlester, Oklahoma, and if he quits a week later, I guess this whole discussion is irrelevant, because there's nobody there, so we don't have to worry about it. Let's just throw some dirt on McAlester, and we'll wait till somebody else pops up a year from now, and let's move on with the groups who are going. So we have to assume that person's ready to go. The meeting process doesn't start down at the hotel. The meeting process starts with, hey, let me meet you for coffee. Why? Because I'm the only guy in McAlester, Oklahoma, so we got to teach them how to go out and reach out, so you don't have a local meeting yet. But if you understand that this philosophy is there, and if we've given you some tools, remember how you started the legacy group? There wasn't any tools, so what did you do? You guys recorded a hangout. And what was the first step for the longest time? Why haven't watched the hangout? Why? Because it's the only thing we had, and we needed a tool on day one. So we went and we made a tool. So you understand, the process begins with how committed are you to going? If you're committed to going, then great. Well, we've got a better hangout now, because that's the one we first did. Or now we've started to get some videos from the company, some first look things. We've started to get some process, and we've got some recorded meeting presentations. In other words, there was a webinar of the presentation done with a lot of testimonials that came in. So we didn't get to see the people, but we did get to see a presentation and hear the testimonials as they went around the room, or we had a hangout. In other words, here's what can act as your surrogate meeting, because you probably need to get that group of 2 or 3. You and I know we've done this 100 times, Travis, where we said, listen, you're excited, great. Get a few friends together and let's get on a conference call together. I'll do a hangout with you and your 3 or 4 friends in your living room. And what happens is you start to accumulate. So I don't want people to be overwhelmed with this. This is the destination. Let's talk about the journey. So you're all by yourself. Great. Then we do what we always do. There's some basic tool sets we've already given to you, because we've had people throughout Legacy who have been doing this with the Legacy Mint team. We've been doing this from the day one in this last 100 days. And where you need to do is you need to get a group of about 10 folks, 5 to 6 folks, 8 folks, somewhere in there, who are signed up, who are excited and ready to go. Okay, great. All of us are committed, because we're all ready to go. We're here. I've been coaching with you. You're all going to bring 2 guests next Tuesday to Fred's house. Why? Because now you're going to have 12 folks there, 10, 12, 15 folks. Great. Now, you guys are going, knowing half of them are going to drop off, but now the 10 of you, you're all going to have 2 guests at Fred's house. Why? Because we're going to see if we can explode out Fred's house into the backyard. But it's going to be next Tuesday night, and all of a sudden, we've started our weekly meeting. Very subtly, but very carefully. And then all of a sudden, Fred's like, listen, the house isn't working, but I've got this community center down here at the housing edition, so we're all going to the community center. Because then what will happen is people will naturally call people from across town. It's a little tougher. And then once you've got that group of about 15 or 20, say, great, we're all going to bring one person. So all 15 or 20 of us, let's all commit, we're bringing one friend, bring one of our trial consumers, and we're going to meet at the Holiday Express in their little bitty conference room. It's $125 that they'll put 40 seats in. So all 20 of us are going to bring one person. Here we go. Great. And then we go. Let me share with you an interesting story about how fast it can evolve. As you know, Lisa and I just got back from Norway. We went over there and we've been helping this great little company. And we were going down to Stavanger, Norway, which they had this young group. This group was, they've got some people of all ages, but by and large, you'd say this group's probably around 22 to 25 with some university folks. And one of the youngsters in the group, a really good guy, just a sharp young guy, about 22 years old, Patrick, and Lisa and I and the CEO were going to fly in down there because one of the leadership people was down there we wanted to spend time with, and we said, well, look, while we're there, let's just do a quick meeting. And they said, okay. Patrick said, I want to pick him up. And we ended up with this young guy who obviously is a Travis Flaherty on his, date month 3, but he's just seen it and he's just sucking it up. And so we sat down and we said, well, how are your weekly meetings going? He said, oh no, 2 months ago we quit the weekly meetings. We just do them monthly now. We said, why? He said, well, because they suck. They're boring. I said, well, why? He said, well, because you got one guy the one guy, the best guy, he does them every week, and it's the same guy, and we're just tired of seeing the same guy, and he does the meeting from beginning to end. If I don't have a guest, I've got the meeting memorized. Why would I go? We said, okay. Now that's where we really realized that we've just been there a few days. That was actually the first time we realized, okay, we're changing our whole focus. We need to get everybody back to weekly meetings. We sat down with him at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and we drew this picture. We said, let us draw you the psychology of where you're going. Now they had a meeting that night just because we were coming in. Otherwise, they weren't going to have another meeting. The regular monthly meeting was 3 more weeks. So a 22-year-old, and we said, and the top leader was actually not going to. The reason he picked us up, they couldn't be there. They were flying back in from another city, and they weren't going to be there. But they figured they'd come in and do the meeting. When they landed, they were excited about it because everybody has this. They were the top leader in that city, but they didn't have this kind of expertise yet. And they said, I love it, let's let it run. Because we sat there with Patrick, the other guy's not hitting the ground for 2.5 hours, and we said, we don't have long, who do you have that can fill these roles? And we said, could you do speaker 3? He said, yeah, I actually did some of the compensation plan, last monthly meeting because, I told him I wanted to try it. So this was a kid who had a lot of courage. Didn't have any experience, wasn't real good yet, but his courage was all he needed. He got on the phone, so we walked him through this from 3 to 4. He got on the phone. At 5:30, he had his 3 people picked out. And he was telling them what they were going to do. He said, will you show up 45 minutes early? So we got there at 6:15, and with all 4 of them in a room, we walked them through and said, here's what you're going to do. Now, here's what they had to do. They had nothing for a quick start. They actually had talked about hot market. They had a slide they put in the regular presentation. We said, no. You don't talk about hot market in the presentation. And what had happened was they developed the presentation as they got in the comp plan that hot market was step 1. And we didn't have time to fix the slide, so we just took that slide out and said we're going to create a 15-minute quick start. Take this slide and this slide and this slide. These 2 copy and put them in again. This one, take it out, put it back there. We're going to add a slide called 15-minute quick start. We did it all in 15 minutes. Said, there you go. So when they got to the comp plan, they had to start with step 2 because the step 1 slide was gone. So I mean, it was that awkward and bumbled and hacked together, and they had about 40 people show up. Okay, because it wasn't the regular monthly, and it was the last second. All of a sudden, people scrambled. They had about 40 people, and we had these 3 young people, 21 to 23, go through these parts right here. Because we said, look, just smile and read the slide. Make out a 3x5 card. Just smile and read the card. Introduce somebody, and we gave it. He said, when we get there, pick who your product testimonials are going to be. So on the spot, they saw who showed up. They picked who their 4 product testimonials. Said, here, call these people up. He got up, did this, went to a close, did the 15-minute quick start. Every single person enrolled, and the comments from everybody is, I love this. Wow, all these stories. I've never seen like this before. It's been 5 weeks since. Their meeting has now grown in 5 weeks. They had 40 people because it was a special thing. Their monthly meetings have dwindled down to about 30. So with Lisa and I, they got 40. They are up at 95 to 100. They've grown every single week. Their guest count is going up, and every single week they've had a different host 1 and 2. Patrick's done step 3. They've got a second person who next week is now done enough that he's going to step in as the new S3, and Patrick's going to watch. That's how fast it can compound. But how does it begin? If you got 2 people, invite a few friends over to the house, use one of the tools that everybody's been using, get it up to about 7 or 8, and say, okay, we're all going to bring 1 person next week. No matter what, get it done. Follow the psychology and just let it grow.
So daily method of operation, if I'm doing a 90-day blitz, absolutely should include a weekly meeting. That's one of the things that I have to commit to, must commit to.
Think about it, that's 12 events. Then once every 4 weeks, you've got a Super Saturday. Those are events within your 90-day run leading, because your 90-day run, as you know, is leading to that big event at the end of 90 days. That's what everybody's pushing to. Whatever that big thing is you're doing. This is the big granddaddy grand poobah. So for 90 days, but we're pushing hard for next week because we got to get as many people going to that 90-day event. And then the next week, we're pushing everybody next Tuesday because we got to have more people going to the 90-day event. And then everybody, boom. And don't forget, here's the Super Saturday we're pushing for because we have 2 Super Saturdays before. Then on that big event Saturday, that's where we're going. This is what because what happens after the 90-day event? Well, you've got even bigger attendance at the next Tuesday and the next Tuesday and the next Tuesday, and it doesn't mean that you're not still doing all your virtual marketing and virtual recruiting, because the purpose of the locals is people become, there's an old saying, 1 person can do X amount of work, 2 people do 3X amount of work, and 3 people do 10X when they're around each other. There's no better place to accelerate your leadership development than when you're in front of a room with your teammates, supporting you, watching other teammates doing it better than you, and learning from them, and having other teammates who are not where you are learn from you. The meeting is for the team. The guest just got lucky enough to be there, and in the process done well, the team just became bigger. But the local meeting is about honing. Think about that movie 300. It's about building those wonderful, warm, open-hearted, lovable moment warriors, but it's about building a warrior group. It's just friendly war. It's loving war. But that's what it is. Those meetings are where you build these local warrior groups, because if you envision this, as you take this culture and drive it around the country, you are prospecting across the country, and you're sending them to the Phoenix Mint meetup because you know that warrior group, because it's the culture, is that we protect our teammates. You send your people, they are safe. We will work with them, coach with them, lead them, guide them, and take them through all the leadership development after they enrolled at that meeting in your organization where you asked us to place them, because I know when I send my people to your meeting in Philadelphia, that's what you're doing for me, and we all send people to Miami and Atlanta and Chicago and Dallas and Milwaukee and everywhere else, because that's what we do. So I participate in my local meeting, and I actually only participate. Take a look at Travis Flaherty. How does Travis Flaherty do that? Because he's got simple. Because he has developed leadership that Travis now is traveling to local meetings. And he's not traveling to build a group, as you say, I'm visiting my money. But what you're really doing is I'm spreading the leadership development. In other words, you don't have to feel, well, if I start a local meeting, I'm a slave. Are you kidding? You do local meetings like this very quickly. Patrick's about 5 weeks ago, he was at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Starting next week, he's not in the meeting. He's watching the meeting. He may step up at this. He's got 3 people leading and somebody else doing the speaker 3, and he's got the top leader in the market and him. They're watching. If they weren't there, and the guests wouldn't know they weren't there because they aren't even going to see them while they're there. That's been 5 weeks. So don't think a local meeting is like a ball and chain. Are you kidding? It is the viral, explosive, take your business nuclear. Here's the measure. If you want to be Amway or Nu Skin or Herbalife or those giants, they have never, ever left local meetings. Everybody tried to say, our company's cool, we don't even have to do local meetings, and none of them have ever succeeded. Those companies went through the technological revolution that killed a lot of companies because people stopped creating culture because they never stopped doing what they knew was the lifeblood of the business, and they do it around the world. Don't feel like you're tied to the meeting. You should build one because it's a leadership development meeting. Get out of the way. You should only do it for as long as it takes to build people who are capable of doing it while you stand at the back of the room and applaud them like a proud parent. Now go pick another city and do it. And a month later, 2 months later, get out of the way. Local meetings should be the things you're embedding and planting and growing and not being bound to, because if you do this model, you're building leadership at such an accelerated rate that you're not only you're not bound. Here's the measure of true wealth. How many meetings worldwide are going on in your team below you on a weekly basis that you have nothing to do with, that are being done the exact same way you did it when you first started building your team? That's called Dexter Yeager Amway type of wealth. That's Bill Britt Amway type of wealth. That's Holton Buggs Organo Gold type of wealth. That's true wealth. And the difference is today you can prospect using online technology farther and faster, where you can then embed this methodology and then allow that embedding. And because all those people, again, 1 day a week at a local meeting, 6 days a week, you're expanding your network reach. But when they get started, you say, listen, while you're marketing to all your friends on Facebook and getting your consumers, getting some people stay, I have no problem, go get 48,000 people started through social media. But what should they each be individually doing? Look in your local community, follow this methodology, and find a group of local people you can run with, develop your leadership together, and hone your skills. But you're not bound to it. If you do it right, it's actually freeing. This is a freedom creation machine. It is not a slavery ball and chain. That's where people, it was wrong perception. They missed the perspective completely.
Curtis, this was this presentation was gold. I really appreciate you taking the time with us today. And for our team members that are watching, I am going to, and we're going to be kicking this off with our daily method of operation call on Saturday. I'm going to challenge you to get a weekly meeting going, and I will make a commitment to each and every one of you that you get that weekly meeting going and get a group of 8, 10, 12 people that are all promoting at that point, I promise you that Summer and I will come to your market. We will spend some time with you, break bread. But you've heard it from the master here. Weekly meetings are the lifeblood of this business, and it's something that our Mint meetups, if I look back at our last 90 days, Curtis, I think we did a great job of creating social awareness throughout social media. But I think that there's too many people that are sitting behind Facebook hoping that their posts are going to attract people to their business. And I firmly agree. It's time to roll out phase 2.
Well, let me ask you a question. When you ran around for the Mint meetups, okay, it wasn't a local meeting style, but it was a Mint meetup. It was people who have come together behind the same philosophy and mission, right?
Yes.
What was the spirit of the meetup? If you could describe it to me without being there, not visually, don't tell me what you saw, tell me what it felt like. What was the feeling of a Mint meetup?
Camaraderie, family coming together.
That's what I mean. Wasn't it fun?
Yeah, it was.
I mean, it's truly soul-inspiring. Then why the hell wouldn't I want to do that once a week?
Yeah, makes sense.
Why would I do that every 3 months? Why wouldn't I just once a week? It's like Cheers. We're going to install the Mint version of Cheers once a week where everybody knows your name. It's just where like-minded people get together and say, man, you made it another week. Congratulations. I love you. It's good to see you, bro. Sister, give me a hug. That's the greatest value of a local meeting. Now, let's go do this for the guests. But understand, the reason we're doing this, we are honing our skills. Who do we have doing the meeting this week? Oh, God, they're new. Oh, I'm so excited to watch them. Why are we showing up? To cheer the new people on. What is it like when, Rudy, he finally got to go on the field. They cheered. We've all seen the news story, the video about the young kid with a mental disability, but it wasn't a disability. He was the young kid who was the team manager for the high school basketball team, and he had the towels and he had the basketballs, and that was it. And one of the last games of the season in his last year, they finally let him get in, and he drained. If you guys have seen it, you got to go search for it. He drained like 6 3-pointers. I mean, this was a kid that now they didn't guard him, but he's out at the 3-point line and he's dropping, like airballed the first 2, but they kept giving it to him because what the heck. And all of a sudden, he scored like 24 points. He scored like 6 or 8 3-pointers. It was like 21. This kid's and people are going nuts. We love to see the new people and the underdog succeed. Let's create this so that the new people, because something, many of us are Facebook monsters. That's great. Nobody got wealthy recruiting Facebook monsters. The biggest in the planet, the Amway giants in Holton, they have Aunt Betty and Ma Kettle in Great Bend, Kansas in their groups. They aren't recruiting on Facebook. They don't even know how to do it. They don't have Twitter accounts. You know what they do? They got quilting bees, and they've got social clubs and church groups, and once a week, they build a foundation in your business that makes you granite. You build to the least capable. You build to the lowest level of experience. The rest of them, they figure it out on their own. What you do is that which those with the least skill and the greatest fear and the least experience at anything can do. Fine, then go back to doing Facebook. But if you think that's where you build your wealth, you'll never build anything. You build wealth when you get into the, Saks Fifth Avenue makes a lot of money. Who makes more money, Saks Fifth Avenue or Walmart?
I'd say Walmart.
They're the largest retailer on the planet. Saks Fifth Avenue doesn't even make in a year what Walmart probably makes in a day. Because which are there more of? The elite Facebook and Twitter marketers, or Aunt Betty's and Grandma Nancy's? Where is the true wealth built? So build something so that you're able to fly at the level and help raise some of those people up so that as they grow in confidence, show them how they can expand their introduction through Facebook and Twitter and through hangout groups and Google brand pages. Show them and teach them. But understand, the biggest giants in the planet, they've never done it other than this, and they do all this other stuff too, but they never left this behind. Success leaves clues.
Love it.
All right, brother.
Curtis Broom. You are the man, brother. I appreciate you. This was an outstanding training, and one that will definitely be up on our training site and be used for future trainings as we kick off this 90-day blitz. And you can bet that you're going to see the amount of weekly meetings going on all around the country starting to pop up everywhere. So I appreciate you, brother.
Absolutely, man. And I will tell you, just like I said, that example in Norway, they've got a bunch of young folks. I mean, 20, 23-year-old. They are Facebook, Twitter monsters, and they are loving the local meeting more than the old school experienced networkers. Because why? Because they do. They spend all their time texting and never and once a week now they're getting together with their friends and pals. It really is. It's like Cheers. It took them back to old. Sam Malone in the bar at Cheers, where everybody knows your name. I'm telling you, it'll work. You watch. You're gonna have some fun. And Mynt mentality, the Mynt moments, the Mynt meetups, it is a perfect fit for who you are.
The weekly meeting where everybody knows your name. Curtis Broom, thank you, brother. We appreciate you. We'll see you next week.
Hi, man.
Everyone else, we will see you on Saturday mornings. Call. Make sure that you promote heavily for that call, because we are going to be talking about the daily method of operation, and the weekly meeting is going to be a big part of it. Curtis, thank you, brother. We appreciate you.
All right, pal. Take care. Say hi to Summer. Love you guys. Bye.